Recently, I have been volunteering with a organisation that helps out around Australia. And what we do is we go in and where there's been a major situation, i.e., floods, fires, strong winds, etc., and knocked over trees, we go in and we make sure that people are able to get back to their normal life. On the first incident that I went to, I didn't tell anyone that I had Asperger's. I was treated as a member of the team, and I was, um, well, I personally believe that it was the best event that I'd actually been on. Now, maybe I made a mistake, but I figured, well, these guys seem to be pretty switched on, so they're going to know that Asperger's is something that is nothing to be afraid of, ashamed of, etc., etc. So, on my next request to attend to a event, I made mention that I had Asperger's, um, and to be perfectly honest, I just thought that the team leader on that particular situation, the incident controller, um, was a little bit new at all this and maybe was a little bit inexperienced. Um, she certainly did a lot of things that made me think that she was a complete and utter idiot, but that's my own interpretation. Um, but I was prepared to help out as I could, so found myself working pretty well alone the entire exercise. Down at some containers, dishing out tools, dishing out um, emergency food supplies for the animals, um, and just sort of meeting the local community who I believe responded quite well. I know I was able to recruit a couple of additional hands to give us or to help out. A few people that were travelling around the area asked what we were up to, explained, and they wanted to know how they could help, so I gave them the rundown. But I certainly missed out on the camaraderie. Now, I wasn't overly put out, but at the same time, such is life. It's sort of you deal with that. But it left a very bitter taste in my mouth, especially towards a group that I had helped was going, or had hoped was going to help a little bit with my PTSD. So, um, as I said, I sort of put it on the back burner a bit. I got back and I was pretty distraught. The missus swore black and blue I was never going to attend another one of these. I'd never volunteer with that organisation again. I chose to volunteer again because there was some strong winds that went through and knocked over a whole heap of trees, and people were screaming out for help. So I stuck my hand up and went and gave a hand. Now, on that particular situation, I again made mention about Asperger's. This is the one I want to actually speak more to, I suppose, because it was a very small team and we were working together, and I had anticipated that there was going to be mutual respect, etc. I okay. I'm an Aussie. Bragging doesn't come naturally to Australians. We tend to downplay everything and all the rest. So I don't. Uh, I have an IQ of 160, which puts me well up there. Um, it also means that I can make calculations on the fly through to everything from geometry through to, well, yeah, so much for doing things on the fly when you end up stumbling over words because you're thinking, well, how else would you end up explain the ability to comprehend bits of information very quickly? Boy, that sounds so much like a idiot type comment, but I don't edit these. I may as well end up putting them on live, but however. So, day one, I get there and I'm busting full of loose. So, some bloke I've never met beforehand walks out and introduces himself. I introduce myself and I say, "Excuse me, I'm going to go to the toilet. Whereabouts is it?" And so, as far as that was concerned, I went to the loo. No worries, but I seem to have actually upset him somehow. I'm not too sure how. Um, anyway, we hung around for a couple of hours waiting for the rest of the people to turn up, and they came in dribs and drabs. I must admit, I was a bit pissed off on that particular exercise because, despite sending numerous messages to various people about um, who or what time I should be there, etc., nobody responded. So I just got there when I got there. I was still one of the first to arrive. Shortly after, some lady rocked up as well, and after a little while, it was decided that we'd go around to have a look at the first job that we had on our sheets. And got there and had a bit of a sticky beak. I'm making assessments. That he's making assessments. She's making assessments. Those two are walking together. I'm walking in front by approximately 50 metres because of the fact that I would prefer to actually be well aware of my surrounds, and I don't trust them to be able to actually feed back the information. As I said, I don't know these people, and they haven't actually done much as far as a proper introduction as to who the hell they are. So anyway, there's a branch that's hanging off a tree. I made the quick calculation that if I grabbed hold of the branch and gave it a pull, the whole branch would come down. And as I said, being well ahead of them, I was not in the slightest bit concerned about them. I knew that the majority of the weight would fall roughly about 5 metres behind me. So, no, it's not a difficult situation to calculate. Anyway, as I'm doing this, I hear from the distance, "What the are you doing? Stop that!" And I stopped because I thought, well, maybe I have missed something. I don't think I have. And so I said, "Well, what's going on?" "Well, you will end up hurt yourself." "Well, no, it's I know which way the branch is going, and you guys are nowhere near, so you're not going to actually be in any way hurt." So anyway, I'll put that down to he's a bit of an idiot, and not to actually be too worried. Once the instant commander gets there, instant controller, they'll be able to actually sort this all out, and hell, I'll probably go into a different team and we'll get quite a bit done over the weekend anyway, so I'll be quite happy. It was decided that we'd go for lunch after we went for a walk around this property, and he goes, "Oh, what do you want for food?" And I'm thinking, well, I don't know you, but you haven't. I'm certainly not going to owe you anything. And if this is some form of an apology for being so abrupt earlier, well, get stuffed. So I brought myself something to eat. He brought something for himself, something for the lady, and we got talking and discovered that she was an office worker and works up at, I think from memory it was Latrobe. Could be Borbor, might be Borbor. Yeah. So she works at Borbor, and from memory, I think she was in something like HR or some other area. He turns out to be the engineer, or be an engineer from the army. he's done a fair bit of volunteer work for different organisations, built a bit of a name for himself, and happens to be the instant controller. And so I thought, well, so it doesn't look like the team's going to get much bigger. Over the rest of the weekend, just a lot of things that I made a comment about was overridden, but that young lady, it was very much a case of having to keep an eye on her because she'd forget her head if it wasn't screwed on. Like, oh, do you think you might want to take the first aid kit down to the, where the guys are cutting up firewood? After all, you've got a chainsaw and there's no first aid kit. Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. Or you've got the first aid kit in the middle of the paddock there and we've got a tractor running around. Do you think maybe moving it closer to the guys might be a better idea? Oh yeah. But the part that got me was at the end of the towards the end of the weekend, needed to bring down another branch, and I discussed it with the bloke who had rocked up and was considered to be a really good chainsaw guy. He worked in the timber industry and did a lot of training for people. And we discussed it, and he totally agreed with my assumption of where the wood would fall or the branch would fall, how to actually bring it down, etc. So he walks off. I start doing that, and again I hear from the background, "Russell, stop that!" And I sort of, what, really? Anyway, it wasn't until I explained that it was that he and I had actually already discussed this, and he was in agreement. Oh, okay. Well, I suppose in that case it's a good idea. But in the meantime, the female had walked around to exactly where the branch was going to drop, and it's a case of get out of there. Like, you can't stand where a branch is about to fall. Oh, well, I'm just checking to make sure you're doing a good job. Like, okay. I have the Asperger's. They have made an assumption. But why is it that I get yelled at, but the ones that actually do things that are stupid are considered to be a great asset? And that is why I can't see myself ever volunteering for the organisation again. Rather sad, really. I did like it. I liked the people I met, especially on the first exercise. I've made a lot of friends from the second one as well. But it's just not worth the effort for people to treat people in a negative form when they have no concept of exactly what it is that they're dealing with. My point, if you have somebody working for you that has Asperger's, find out a little bit about them first. Try to understand where they're coming from, and don't make assumptions that, oh, well, it's a disability, so therefore they're disabled. No, you potentially will disempower us from being our best person. Our best ability is in supporting or doing or working within a confine that we feel comfortable in. Don't take that away from us. Anyway, that's it for tonight, or for today.